Okay. Hey guys, welcome to another Vanilla Sunday. I hope y'all are liking these. Give us some feedback, give us some comments. I love the YouTube comments. I feel like that's the main place we get feedback. I should probably check our IG DMs more, but anyways. Okay, so today I'm doing mine on, well, I don't know. Everyone calls them a little bit something different. You know, anxiety, intrusive thoughts, Sunday scaries, whatever. However you want to describe those like thoughts that we get, you know, especially like when we're kind of down or low or like hungover or, you know, just having a bad day and suddenly your mind is just like flooding you with all these things and you're just like, oh shit. And I don't know, at least for me more recently, like now, like I'm in a very like healthy, loving relationship. It's really safe and peaceful, but that seems to be sometimes like what causes me to like spiral. And I think what happens then is just like I'll literally be like, you know, like there's not really anything to like worry about. So then my mind's like, but there could be. So let's just start figuring that out. And then I'm like, no, that's not what I want to do. I don't want to start making up all these scenarios, all these things that like could happen. And I mean, it's different for everyone and it can be related to like your relationships. It could be related to your job. I feel like for me, at least in the past, my mind will always pick like one thing and just hyperfixate on that. And then like try to think of every like possible scenario of what could go wrong in that area of life. I remember sometimes like with work, like I was just like so hyper paranoid that I was always going to get fired. And I never did. In fact, I quit. You know, so it's like anyways, but our minds.
You get the intrusive thought that he's just gonna leave you.
Yeah, I get that. Cami asked if I get the intrusive thought that my boyfriend would just like randomly leave, and I'm like, yeah, that one comes up. I think that's a very normal one for like everyone. And so, yeah, intrusive thoughts, anxiety, whatever you want to call it, it's not fun. It's not fun to deal with. That little voice inside our head that like is just playing like the absolute worst devil's advocate. We got to learn to silence it. And I think that's been one of my biggest lessons in life in general, because like I think I've gotten better at it over the years, but it's still something that like as soon as something comes into my life that's like new, exciting, and that I'm, you know, that I really love and I don't want to fear losing that thing, that's when my mind is all suddenly just like dumping every possible intrusive thought that it can into my mind. And I hate it. And so if there's anyone that doesn't experience this, can you let me know what that's like? I would love to interview someone that has not ever dealt with intrusive thoughts or anxiety. If such a person exists, I'd like to know. But anyways, and I think everyone's got, you know, their methods and their ways, and you got to figure out what works for you. But I thought I would at least discuss what works for me. A lot of the methods I've had to like either grow and adapt over the years, or just kind of like, you know, some of them have kind of stuck to, some of them have added on to, some of them I don't do as much anymore. It just kind of depends. It's funny because like this was the same thing that I experienced in my first marriage, especially in the beginning of the relationship. Like, you know, you really care about this person. You fear losing them, like blah, blah, blah. And so it's like you have all these thoughts. You have to learn how to deal with it. Otherwise you'll just kind of drown in it in your relationship, or related to work, children, family, whatever. So yeah, we'll get started. I put together a little list. The first thing I put on the list was actually something I learned from Cami. Her therapist recommended this to her. And as soon as she said that, I was like, I'm going to start doing that. And it's actually been one of the ones that I really like the most. She said to just like scrunch your feet and really ground your feet. Once you feel like you're really in your head, think about it like your feet are the furthest from your head. So if you're all up here and it's getting like really mental and you want to get out of your head, focus on your feet. Scrunch them. I like to go like put them like in water or in grass. I think that's something that's helped me out the most. Or like massage them, put lotion on them, something like that. And I have found that to be extremely helpful. And that's probably one of the most like somatic things that I've like learned to do for myself in these instances. And yeah, if you have the space to do it, because I don't know, sometimes, you know, if you're at work and you start getting all up in your head in the office, like I'm not sure that you can just rub one out with your feet there in the office, but you know, whenever you can find the time to do it, I think that's a really great way to just like take it from one end of the body into the other. And some other good grounding practices that I've kind of used over the years, I'll go outside and like sit in the sun and just like take some deep breaths. It's really nice when you do that, especially when you get out in nature. I find nature to be very grounding and very comforting, so that works for me. If I'm on vacation and like my mind is not very stimulated, so then I start going to a place where like I'm getting a lot of intrusive thoughts. Usually, we tend to vacation where there's water. And like I have found the most peaceful place is to just like go in the ocean and just swim. Then you start thinking about what could swim up to you. And then that's another whole nother thing. But anyways, that always feels so like peaceful to me. So grounding in nature, grounding outside, grounding in the ocean. If you live by the water, exercise really helps. Anything that gets the body moving. I feel like when I go to the gym, I just feel instantly better afterwards. And usually like while I'm lifting, I'll be thinking about some of these intrusive thoughts, and like that's when I'll apply some of the more like mental things that I do, which I'll get to in a little bit. But if there's one that like is just really hounding and just like will not let up, and like doesn't matter like how much I scrunch my feet or swim in the ocean or, lay my entire body in grass, like if it just won't go away, I will try to like either start a conversation with someone like Cami. I actually did this yesterday. We were in the car and there was one that like would not let up, and I just like randomly turned to her and picked like a random subject, and I was like, actually, I think we were like discussing, I ended up discussing like things that we needed to do for the pod, because then it took me into like more of the present, because a lot of these intrusive thoughts are like fears based on like future things that are a possibility that like, may or may not happen. Let's bring it back to the present. And I asked her about things that we needed to get done for the pod, and that helped a lot too. So maybe take a look at your calendar and be like, you know what do I have for this week ahead? What do I need to worry about in this moment? What is a problem for present me, not future me? So those are more grounding things, I would say. But like sometimes I think we do need to apply more mental tools and mental things, because at the end of the day, like we can't always just like distract from the problem. We have to be willing to face it too. I love using affirmations, and I know it's woo-woo. I know it's, I don't know how y'all feel about affirmations. I don't know if you guys do them for yourselves. Affirmations have helped me a ton. That's what I used to use when I had a lot of like insecurities about my body in college. I would like just like sit in the front of the mirror and like say a bunch of affirmations about like different parts of my body. And so like sometimes like the more you tell yourself something, the more your mind will start to believe it. And it's nice because then you start kind of like rewiring your brain to be like, as soon as one of those intrusive thoughts comes in, instead of being there like, oh, this is truth, like you're like, oh no, I already know, like this is not the case. So one of my favorite ones, I said it once on Steph's pod. I don't know if I've ever said it on our podcast, but my favorite one to say when I have intrusive thoughts is, my intrusive thoughts are not reflective of my desires, my intentions, my manifestations, or my reality. Because they're not. They're not reflective of any of those things. They are a product of our fears. So I will sometimes say that one over and over and over in my head until I just believe it. And another one, I always say to myself, I can and will overcome my fears. And then one of my last ones that I really love is, I have a healthy, sound, and strong mind. Life is really just like one big fucking mental game. I don't know if anyone else has figured that out, but like mentality is everything. So like as long as you can take care of this up here, like the environment around you, I believe, will start to respond. So that's why you got to feed it good things, positivity, affirmations, the things that make you feel good, and not lean into the things that make you feel anxious and worried and stressed. So yeah, I like affirmations. Like I said, I'll say them. Sometimes I'll write them down. I really love journaling them too, because that can kind of help, not only like you're bridging the mind and the body, and that you're actually like writing it down. And like I've looked at old journals before where I literally have like an entire page of things that I would just write down over and over and over. And it was the same affirmation, but like it helped a ton. And, like I look at everything that it took to like get past a lot of my insecurities about my body. And like, yes, going to the gym and all those things helped, but also a lot of the mental work that I did helped too. So it's like you got to bridge both of them when you're dealing with that kind of thing. So try out some affirmations, see what feels good. You can find some on like, you can Google some. I asked ChaptGPT for affirmations. Homie slayed. I was like, I am writing these down and adding them to my repertoire of affirmations because they were just like so well worded, very concise. Anyway, what?
What was one of them?
Hold on, I got it. Cami she's in the room. She asked what one of them was. Let me see if I can find it. Oh man, how do you look up like previous things that you've, because I wrote them down in my journal, but I don't have them on my phone. Anyways, TBD. Maybe I'll go find them in my journal and put them in the episode description. But anyways, yeah, affirmations. Try some out, see what feels good. You can, there are also like, I think YouTube and Spotify, I want to say both have like playlists of like affirmations that are really good. So remember, at the end of the day, you can and you will overcome your fears, your anxieties, your worries, everything. You can do it. Moving on. Another one that I like to do is like, I like to like visualize them, like my fears, or like anytime that little voice in my head comes up, I personify it and I make it this like, I mean, she tends to look like me, but she's got like darker hair, gray skin and black eyes. And she like has this like cool girl, like, you know, she's like in all leather and she's got a cigarette and she's just like, yeah, well, you know what, life's going to suck because this is going to happen and this is going to happen and this is going to happen. And I sometimes will literally just like, and you know, she's that voice. I personify her. That is what she looks like in my mind. She has this kind of like deep voice that is all like alluring in a way. And it's interesting that I picture it like that because it's almost as if like our mind likes to give those things an appeal to them. And I don't know what it is or why that is. Maybe I should ask someone that's a professional. But anyways, yeah, I always find that interesting. Anyway, so I picture her and then I just like have a conversation with her and I'll like either tell her to get the fuck out. I'll like envision like slicing her throat or like kicking her to like the literal curb or like slamming a door shut in her face. But sometimes like kind of that visualization and that personification and turning something that's like very mental into like more of a visual thing, it helps me out a ton. And I do that a lot. I mean, I've talked about it on the pod before. Like I personify pieces of myself within me and it just helps. And she, you know, I have my inner counsel. I have my siren, my ego, my past self, my future self, my inner child. Like all those pieces are within me and they all look a different way and I welcome them. But that person, my fears and anxieties, the way that she is all in one, like I leave her out of the conversation and I try to shut her out as much as I can. And it reminds me of that movie. What is it called? Where like, it's like in the brain, he has like that little team of people and like the emotion, sadness or whatever. I don't remember. Inside Out. Thank you. Our camera guy just told us. Anyways, I don't know what to call it. Joseph Joel. Producer. Anyways, it reminds me of Inside Out. And I remember when I watched that movie, I was like, no, like the sad one, they kept like shutting her out. And I was like, you don't want to do that. But like, I feel like that's a very different emotion than your intrusive thoughts. So I do treat them differently. But anyways, yeah. So I should give her a name. I haven't given her a name yet. This woman that I envision when I personify my intrusive thoughts. But anyways, and sometimes she'll be like, fine, I'll go away. And she'll like get bored of like trying to hound me. And we have like that little bit in our head. But other times, and this is kind of like the last point in it, you know, when I have that conversation with her, I'll like explore those intrusive thoughts to the end. And it'll be like, you know, say for example, my boyfriend loves to play video games. So, and I love that. I think it's like the cutest thing. And it's so fun when I was staying with him and I just watch him like get all into his games. I'd be right next to him on my computer, like, you know, doing pod stuff or whatever. And like, we're both like in our own little worlds. And I really enjoy that time with him. But it was just like very domestic, very cutesy. Anyways, so now that I'm back, at home in LA, he lives across the world in Italy. And when he gets into his video games, like sometimes like he's, playing for like 3 hours at a time and like I don't hear from him. And I know he's just probably playing video games, or maybe he went to go do some laundry or like clean the house or like whatever. I don't know. But like that intrusive thought comes in and it's like, he's cheating on you. And I was like, so I'll like literally look at her and be like, is he? Do we really think that that's plausible? Like, no. Let's be for fucking real. He's playing video games. Everything is fine. You don't need to worry about this. Shut the fuck up. Okay, and then if he is, like, what? Then you handle that. Or it's like, is it really plausible like that something like that would happen considering the amount of effort that you're both putting into the relationship? Because long distance is fucking hard. And if it's anything that this relationship has taught me, I've done long distance before, but never a 14-hour flight away from someone. But it's like, you both really have to be in it to make it work. And there is no, what's the word I'm looking for? You can't be unsure about someone and be putting that much effort to maintain something that is that far apart. So it's like, then why would he be going through all this trouble to keep, and grow and nurture a relationship with me, like if that's what he's doing. Anyways, so like I try to explore them to the end. And I also think I also use that one a lot for like, say for example, like when Cami and I are apart, my intrusive thoughts are like, she's walking the dogs and like something horrible is going to happen, because that happened to me once. I was literally walking the dogs and I got hit by a car. And so sure, yes, that is a possibility. And, just like someone cheating on you or getting into a bad accident, whatever, like those things are all possibilities. You have to remember, like, you can't control those things. So I usually sit there and I just remind myself like, okay, well, this all stems from a fear. Or this all stems from a lack of control, because at the end of the day, like I cannot control that. All I can do is just stay present, find gratitude for the moment and space that I'm in, focus on the things that I can control, which is my mind, and choose to believe in positivity and choose to exercise optimism and hope and faith and all of those things, and like let those worries and anxieties and intrusive thoughts go. Kick them to the fucking curb. Cami's fine. She's walking the dogs. Everything is fine. She'll text me when she gets home. I don't need to be stressing or worrying about this. My boyfriend's not cheating me. He's playing video games. Like, so like it sounds ridiculous, but like Cami says she's glad she's not the only one. But it's funny because like I talk to other friends too, and it's like, yeah, sometimes you just have those really irrational thoughts and fears coming in, and you got to learn how to deal with them. And like I said, if there's anyone out there that doesn't deal with this, I would love to hear what that is like. What does your mind focus on? What do you do? I don't know. And sometimes I think like maybe I just need more mental stimulation. I also know that I'm someone that's just like, I'm an overthinker. And I tend to like run through things pretty quickly. Like for example, like when I'm doing my tasks and stuff that I need to get done, like things do tend to go pretty quick. So then it's like anytime that I have like a down moment, that's when all of a sudden my mind is like, well, we can't relax. Absolutely not. Instead, let's think about all these horrible, irrational possibilities. So yeah, I hope that helps. And like I said, I hope at the end of the day, you know that you can overcome these things and everything will be fine. And that's another thing too. I always try to remind myself, like I have lived 30 years, almost 31. Our birthday's in like 2 weeks. Or well, by the time this releases, we're probably already 31. Like I have lived enough life to know that like I can handle things. I overcame getting hit by a car. You can kind of see the scar a little bit. And, I have had people, cheat on me in the past. And yes, it sucks, but like you deal with it and you move on and everything is going to be okay. So it's like, just remind yourself, whatever it is, you can get through it. You're a strong person and everything will be okay. There's always happiness on the other side too. But don't give way to the fears and the anxiety and the negativity. Feed your mind with the good things. Reminds me of that quote about the wolf. It's like there are two wolves in your mind And it's like, which one is the strong, one is the good one, the like sound, healthy one. The other one's like the anxieties, worries, all of that. And then it's like, which one is the strongest? And it's like the one that you feed. So think about which wolf you are feeding. Ooh, maybe I should personify them as wolves. That sounds a lot better than this girl I keep coming up with. Though she is pretty hot. I like her leather outfit. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you next time for our next Vanilla Sunday. Have a great rest of your Sunday. This is the day of rest. Go do something that is purely for you. We'll see you next time.